So my name's Zoe. I live in Wolverhampton. I've got 3 children. I've got a 5-year-old son, a 3-year-old daughter, and a 7-month-old baby. Yeah, he was an emergency C-section baby. I think it was about 22 hours or something like that. Like that's how long it was going on for. I wanted a water birth, which obviously didn't happen. And I wasn't progressing after 6 centimetres. He was just stuck. And then they gave me a little bit of time to see if I could do it naturally, but it just wasn't coming at all. And then, yeah, they said I'll have to be emergency C-section. And I mean, I didn't know. I obviously know more now than I did then. But at the time, you know, with the breastfeeding, like I know that you can have like skin to skin after like a C-section. You can have like you can still try and breastfeed, and like none of that was explained to me or anything. So, and I was quite out of it. So when he was born, they wrapped him up, gave him. I think they showed him to me, or like by my face, and then my husband took him. Pretty much straight away. And then they told him to go into a different room. I mean, I didn't remember that at the time, but he went into a different room while they were sorting me out. And I think that was 45 minutes I was away from him. And then, yeah, then I breastfed him in the recovery room. And the issue that I had with my son was that he was tongue-tied. So it was terrible. Like, he just was waking up, like, every hour. It was like every hour overnight, and I was absolutely exhausted. And I think it was going on for about maybe 7-8 weeks when it actually got resolved. So for all that time, like I felt like I had postnatal depression and everything. But you know, because it was my first, and I had no one really to speak to about it. When I'd speak to midwives about it, it was very much, oh well, that's breastfeeding for you. It was a head midwife, the one of the ward, and she was really good actually, and she didn't want to discharge me straight away because I think she could see I was struggling. I think I was still in there for like 2 weeks because of they were checking his weight and things like that because he'd lost quite a little bit of weight. And the midwife said maybe we should get some voluntary support or breastfeeding support worker to come out to see me at home rather than me go to hospital. She come, I think, 4 times before she said, hang on, I think there's something else going on. So she called the hospital and then asked if I could have like a tongue tie assessment done. And I only had to wait a couple of days because she could obviously see like how much it was getting to me, like the lack of sleep and stuff. And yeah, I went and they checked it, and I think it was a really high score, so it was a really bad tongue tie. They'd said to me, and then they just did it there and then cut it, and then as soon as I cut it, I put him straight on, and I could feel the difference like straight away. Like I could feel him draining the milk, like it was a different feeling. And then I came home and he'd slept 2.5 hours, which he'd never done. And I kept checking. Yeah, and I kept checking him, and I was like thinking, what is going on? Like, and it was the longest he'd ever slept. And then after that, things started getting like a bit better. I think the birth was more the issue the second time round. I was worried about it being the same situation. And I think they wanted me to. I was planning to have a C-section because they said she was a small baby. So they wanted her out sooner. And I didn't want that. I wanted a natural birth because I felt kind of robbed the first time. We went to hospital, and then when I got there, they told me I was already 6 centimetres. And I was like, amazing. I was like, this is what I want. This is like all going well. It was like 4 hours had passed, and I hadn't dilated anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck at 6 again. And then they all got worried again, and they took me into theatre and was like, right, if we can't get the baby out, you're gonna have a C-section again. And I was like, okay. They were like, they will tell you when you got a contraction. Whilst I was in theatre, and they were like, push when we tell you. And I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, I'm numb. And then they were like, you'll do it. And I was like, okay. And then, so they were all like lifting me up. Like my husband, all the doctors and the midwives, every time was like lifting me up as I was contracting. And then they used a the ventouse, and then they managed to get her out. They cut me, and then she come out, and I was like, oh my god, like I had natural birth, and I latched well straight away. And I think because she was the easiest baby in terms of like breastfeeding, sleeping, she was like, what do they call it? Like textbook. She was like textbook baby, like wake up every 3 to 4 hours and feed every like 4 hours in the day, sleep. She's still an amazing sleeper. So second time round, everything was amazing. I mean, my husband was at work and he would come back and obviously like he's worried about me, and he was cooking all the food on a Sunday, like batching it and freezing it and putting like breakfast next to me for when like I get up. So like, you know, just trying to do everything, and my lunch, just trying to like do everything he could so I didn't have to do much at all. I think for the first like couple of weeks I had like some visitors, and I think my auntie popped in once because my mum mentioned I was struggling. So I had a couple of people, but it kind of died off even though I was still struggling. And in terms of like friends, I had one actually. I had one friend who worked at a hospital. She works in a mental health ward for women who I think it's postnatal. At the time, she worked on a ward like that, and she hasn't got any. Well, she got children now, but she didn't have children then. And she was coming round quite often. The babies are on the wards with the moms, so she's used to, you know, handling babies. And she came with me to the tongue tie assessment, and she held the baby while they did it because I was like, I can't do it. I don't want to see him do it. So to be fair, she was really supportive, like at that time. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. When my son was born, I'd cover myself with like a muslin cloth. I'd just literally like tuck it into my bra there because it would just like hang over. So I used to do that a little bit, but then yeah, I don't really care. If I'm at home and I've got family, same male family members, like I'll just get a chair and I'll just turn away so I can still be in the room, still have conversations with people. I mean, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable if they, you know, so I just assume that they may feel uncomfortable, so I'll just do it. If I've got somewhere else to do it, I can do it easily somewhere else, can't I? So it doesn't bother me. But if like I'm in public, I don't care what other people think. You know, I went to Birmingham to my husband's graduation in, I think it's a hippodrome, and I mean it was really busy, and I'd needed a chair to breastfeed, and all the chairs were taken. That's fine. I would have happily sat on the floor if I had to breastfeed on the floor, but I spoke to someone who worked there, and they were like, call the security number up on the phone, and he'll open the, you know, somewhere you can sit in the toilet space. Because I said, can I go in early and just feed actually in the theatre? And it'll be empty at that point. And they said, oh, you know, call security or whatever. There's like a toilet, whatever. There's a place in Wolverhampton called Bentley Bridge. Not sure if you're aware of it, but they've got some toilets there, and inside it's like a big disabled toilet, but there's like a bed in there, and you can like lower it down. You could sit on this bed or whatever. So I was expecting something like that, and then when the door was open, literally I went in. It was a small room, and it was just a toilet. There was a toilet in there, and I was thinking, where do you expect me to feed my baby in here? Sat on the toilet. There was no chair, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I thought, I'm not going to sit on the floor in a toilet and feed. So I wasn't very happy about it. And I just thought, you know, I'm in Birmingham. I'm in like this theatre centre, and the blokes have sent me to a toilet to feed my baby. And I was fuming, to be honest, because I thought I would have rather waste. I would have saved all that time and effort, and I could have just done it in the, you know, where everyone was waiting in that area, sort of thing.